YouTube channel Liverpool. Hello and welcome along to the debrief here live on the Blood Red YouTube channel. Liverpool beating AC Milan 3-2 at Anfield. Jordan Henderson with a captain's contribution to make it a victory on the opening night of the Champions League at Anfield. Welcome along. I'm Guy Clark, here with me, our senior digital football journalist, live from Anfield, Theo Squires. And Theo, we'll get into the action, but tonight, for me, what really stood out was that first Champions League back with fans inside the ground for the first time since March 2020. The atmosphere seemed electric. What was it like sat in the press box?
Yeah, it was an incredible atmosphere. It's the game the fans have been waiting for, isn't it? Like, of all the games that you could have had, you wanted that European Super 8 first. And while AC Milan aren't the giant they weren't with Zlatan Ibrahimovic tonight. It's still a name. These two sides still have 13 European Cups between them. And you knew that was going to get the fans up for it straight from kickoff. Like we've seen them straight up for it against Burnley in a 12:30 kickoff. So they're always going to be up for this one. We know how special European nights at Anfield can be. And usually group stages are not quite the same. But this has been a long time coming, just getting the fans back and creating this sort of atmosphere. And it was one where the team really responded to it. Like for 40 minutes in that first half, they were brilliant. Knocked a little bit by the missed penalty, but the passing around the ball well, and they could have been so far ahead. Obviously, a couple of defensive slip-ups cost them towards the end of that first half, but then nitty-gritty in that second half, they grind it out. It's a great win for Liverpool, and the fans really responded to it. They're just getting louder and louder, not taking any of the setbacks, and it really spurred the team on over the line to get that vital first win.
Yeah, most definitely. Keep sharing your comments with us here on YouTube. We'll get as many of them on screen as we can. And Ryan there says, Hendo giving Stevie G vibes with that winner. Was going to say, you said the atmosphere was incredible. What about the winner?
Oh, it's a brilliant goal. What shocked me is it's only Jordan Henderson's second Champions League goal for Liverpool, and his first one would have been against Le Jaguarettes under Brendan Rodgers in a 2-2 draw. It's not quite the same, is it, as a winner against AC Milan? But what a strike from the captain. We know he's capable of that, and perhaps he doesn't get the opportunity to show it as often as he would like, but he's fitting at that moment. And it's one where in this game against AC Milan, you're always going to get those comparisons to Steven Gerrard. You're always going to get those throwbacks to Istanbul and to Athens in 2007. And it was fitting that it was the captain who steps up with a winning goal of that quality to give it that nostalgia feel to it, I suppose.
Yeah, most definitely. And after the first half for Liverpool, it seemed mad in the way in which Liverpool had completely dominated, certainly the opening half hour, got the goal through the own goal by Tomori. Mohamed Salah missed a penalty. When was the last time we could say that? And then all of a sudden, right on the stroke of half time, the game just turned on its head.
Yeah, it's one with AC Milan. I suppose we're always going to have games where we've got minutes of madness and we get comebacks and all this. Looking at it, I suppose it's one where don't want to say it, but they missed Virgil van Dijk. Like for the first goal, the Liverpool defence, they're all over the place. The two of the left back and the left centre back, Joe Gomez, they're in one line. Trent and Joel Matip for in another. As Rebic got in behind Matip, and then he's left with an easy opportunity. And then for the one that put them ahead, Robertson does his best to get it off the line, but they've fallen asleep again. They've lost their men, and it's not something you expect to see of Liverpool when it is a defence with Virgil van Dijk in it. But they fought back, and it was only a few minutes of madness. They managed to, I think there was a little scare early in that second half when Kjaer put the ball in the back of the net. The linesman flag was up for offside, thankfully, and then Liverpool just ground it out. They got the goals. Salah's missed penalty. I think it was his first one since his first season with the club. So we're talking 2017, 2018 against Huddersfield Town. He's been on an insane run. It's just unfortunate for him. I suppose get it out of the way when it doesn't matter. You'd much rather him do it now in a game they're going to win than a costly one later in the season. And it's one where, well, look, they've got the victory today. Penalties don't matter. You want that winning mentality from them. At the same time, it would have been nice if we'd seen them storm it in the first half after having such dominance and go on to win 4-5-0 to put in a real statement to the rest of Europe. But then you can't take anything for granted. That's what the Champions League is about. It's about the best teams come into it, and they will win games. There will be shocks. There will be upsets. It's not going to be the best team going on to win it as a necessity every year. It's why we're not talking about PSG or Manchester City as European champions in recent years, because upsets happen. You need to be able to come out of fighting and get the victories when you're up against it. And Liverpool pulled out back tonight when They could have easily folded after that late scare in the first half.
Yeah, it had been 17 penalties in a row that Mohamed Salah had scored before tonight's miss. You never really feel as though he is going to miss, but of course it did happen tonight. We got the comment on screen there. Delighted with Origi's contribution today. It was a big surprise. He was one of the 4 changes that Jurgen Klopp made to the side and played a vital role in the equaliser on the night for Mohamed Salah. Put his penalty miss behind him and got the equaliser for the Reds, but Divock Origi playing a key role in it.
Yeah, definitely. It's one with Divock Origi. If you'd said 3 weeks ago that he was going to be starting your first Champions League game, it's going to be against AC Milan, you'd have been laughed at. But there he got hit, the cop chanting his name. He got a good reception when he went off injured. And he made a good impact. He was unlucky not to score early on, scuffing a chance wide. But when you look at the other options Liverpool have got, you thought Minamino perhaps would have been there ahead of him. Oxlade-Chamberlain had been the man up front in pre-season when the senior stars are going. But he's been given the opportunity tonight. And while he's not got a goal or been at his very best, he's shown that he is still part of it here and he has made an impact. He's made big impacts on European nights before. I don't need to know which ones. We all know which ones I'm talking about. But the fact that he can come out and show that he is still here, maybe there is life in him yet. Like last season, we all assumed he'd be going out, it'd be the end of his Liverpool career. But then, is that not what we all thought at the start of the Champions League winning season as well? That he just wouldn't get a look in and then he could go away quietly. We all know what happened then when he came back and made such an impact. First off against Everton, Merseyside derby, and all through the season to make those big games. He was out of contract at the end of that season, I think, too, or the next season. Well, he's out of contract in the summer now. Liverpool do have an option to give him another year, but maybe he can come out fighting again and have a few big moments between now and the end of the season. No, Salah and Mane have got Cup of Nations in January. There are going to be opportunities for him. At least he's shown that he is still very much a part of it here at Liverpool.
Yeah, before we wrap up then, final point to make in terms of the squad that Jurgen Klopp then has to pick from now. Obviously, Harvey Elliott picked up his injury at Leeds United at the weekend and maybe numbers beginning to get a bit lower in the midfield than a few thought. Origi going off today and obviously with Roberto Firmino out injured too, maybe a few getting a bit twitchy as to the numbers that Liverpool have at the top end of the pitch now.
Potentially, but then we've seen players come on in the front three tonight that you'd normally expect to see in midfield, like Curtis Jones and Oxlade-Chamberlain. And while it wasn't the longest cameos for them, they made an impact. They had lively moments. And it's one where you can never say Liverpool don't have enough bodies in attack or they don't have enough bodies in midfield. The question is whether they can stay injury-free. But you can say that about any side. If you take off 3-4 players through injury, how strong is the depth after that? And with Liverpool's players, because the front three, for example, for so long have just been consistent playing every single game, you've not been able to see a proper chance for these other players to stake their claim because they're in 1 week. Maybe they'll get 20 minutes at the end of one game, and it's not a chance to show that actually they are viable options as alternatives in attack. But we've seen the alternatives tonight. Like Sadio Mane was given a rest on the bench. Yes, he's come on, but Divock Origi staked his claim there. And then you've still got, Minamino didn't come on. Curtis Jones did. He showed he can do it on left wing. We saw him do so well there for the 23s and the under-19s a couple of years ago. He is an option there. And while it might not be as exciting as Liverpool going and spending, 40, 50, 60, whatever figure you want to put onto it, on a new forward, they have got the talent in their squad. And it's just about having the trust in the management and the coaching staff that these players can do the job, because the coaching staff obviously think they do. That's why whenever you put these questions to Jurgen Klopp about his strikers or his midfielders, he goes through all of them and lists their qualities, or he'll say, we don't need to sign a replacement for a Salah or Mane for 2 or 3 weeks because we've got the options here. We've seen tonight with Origi, you give them the game time on the right night, they can do a job, they can contribute. Obviously, they're not going to be the quality of a Salah or a Mane, but they are talented players. They are Premier League champions. They are European champions. It's now just about seeing if they can do it consistently over a prolonged period. And that's what the real test is going to be over the next couple of months, 3 months before that January transfer window opens. But granted, Harvey Elliott losing him was a big blow because he could fill in both positions. But it's a chance for someone else to step up. Curtis Jones could do that, Origi could do that. And if they don't quite state their claim well enough to show that they can be a long-term option for Liverpool, or when that January window opens, maybe Liverpool will be forced into a rethink and look to bring someone else in.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see how it plays out. Theo, thanks for joining us from Anfield. Instant reaction here on the Blood Red channel from Anfield as Liverpool get their Champions League campaign off to a winning start, seeing off AC Milan by 3-2. Coming up, Jurgen Klopp's post-match press conference. Theo was mentioning there questions to be put to Jurgen Klopp. There will be plenty. Do stick with us here on Blood Red, as you will be able to hear from Jurgen Klopp first up on our channel here on YouTube. His press conference in full to come, and Analysing Anfield will be with you tomorrow to pick the bones through the performance. But from myself, Guy Clark, and Theo Squires, thanks for joining us here on Blood Red. It's bye for now.